I despise what you bring out in me. Your concerns are petty. You are a stumbling block.
Depression is a real demon in the woods, too, of a lot of creative people, you know?
No! I didn't touch you think! Did you touch anything? I don't like this, Andy! Shut up!
Have you ever watched an Ethan Hawke movie and realized he didn't just play a character, he quietly rewired your brain for the next hour? Today we're diving into the shocking truths behind how Ethan Hawke psychologically dismantles an audience, not with jump scares, but with micro-expressions, silence, and emotional restraint. Hit the comment section with your favorites, because in this video, I'm breaking down 5 scenes I loved where Ethan Hawke absolutely destroyed us psychologically through performance alone, and by the end you'll see his films in a whole new light. The first of Ethan Hawke's truly gut-wrenching performances has to be First Reformed, a movie that isn't just about faith or religion, but about what happens when a good person carries the moral weight of the world for too long and has nowhere left to put it. This is a film about spiritual exhaustion, climate anxiety, inherited guilt, and the quiet terror of realizing that doing the right thing doesn't always make anything better. And the reason it stays with you: he listens, he counsels, he nods, he reassures. But no one ever truly asks how he's holding up, and that neglect becomes its own form of violence. What makes this performance devastating for a mass audience is how recognizable it is. You don't need to be religious to feel it. Anyone who has carried family expectations, financial pressure, climate dread, or emotional responsibility for Hawke doesn't ask you to fear his character. He quietly invites you to recognize yourself in him. The second time Ethan Hawke completely dismantles us emotionally comes from the Before Sunset. And what makes this one especially cruel is that nothing bad is happening on the surface. No violence, no villains, no tragedy. Just 2 people talking. And yet, it hurts more than most dramatic breakdowns ever could. This film is about the quiet psychological terror of realizing that the life you chose may not be the life you wanted, and that some doors only reveal their importance after they've already closed. Hawke's Jesse is older now, less romantic, more guarded, carrying the weight of compromises he never planned to make. He talks fast, jokes often, philosophizes endlessly, but underneath all that movement is a man stalling. He's married, he's a father, he's successful on paper, and yet every sentence feels like it's circling one unspoken truth. When he reconnects with Celine, it's not nostalgia that breaks him, it's recognition, the horrifying clarity of seeing who you could have been if one decision had gone differently. The famous apartment scene, Nina Simone playing in the background, Celine dancing while Jesse watches, is where the psychological damage peaks. Hawke doesn't interrupt, he doesn't confess, he just looks at her like someone who has suddenly remembered how to breathe after years underwater. And when she casually says, "Baby, you are gonna miss that plane," it lands like a gunshot. Because they both know what's being offered and what it would cost. Psychologically, this scene captures existential regret, the kind that doesn't scream, but slowly suffocates you. It's the pain of living a decent life while secretly mourning the unlived one. Hawke plays Jesse like a man trapped between responsibility and desire, between being good and being honest. His voice softens, his jokes fade, and for a moment you see the childlike hope he buried years ago flicker back to life, just long enough to hurt. What makes this devastating for mass audiences is how deeply adult it feels. This isn't about missed teenage love, it's about missed timing, missed courage, missed honesty. Anyone who has ever stayed where they were supposed to stay instead of where their heart wanted to go feels this scene tighten around their chest. Hawke never raises his voice, he never makes a grand speech. His devastation lives in pauses, half sentences, glances that last a second too long. And that's the psychological trick of the Before series. It doesn't tell you what choice is right, it simply holds a mirror up to the viewer and asks a brutal question. What if the love that shaped you most is the one you were mature enough to recognize only after it was almost too late? Ethan Hawke makes that question impossible to forget because he plays it not as regret, but as quiet grief dressed up as conversation. The third performance that quietly wrecks you comes from Gattaca, a film that looks like science fiction on the surface, but is actually one of the most emotionally brutal stories. The fourth time Ethan Hawke absolutely cracks us open comes from Boyhood, and what makes this one hurt differently is that it sneaks up on you disguised as something warm. This isn't a breakdown wrapped in tragedy or danger. It's a slow realization that being charming, loving, and present sometimes still isn't enough. Boyhood isn't about one dramatic moment, it's about time doing quiet damage, and Hawke lets us watch it happen to a man in real time. Hawk plays Mason Sr. as the kind of dad everyone wants to root for. He's funny, emotionally available, progressive, the cool parent who listens to his kids and treats them like people. But as the years pass, something shifts. You start to see the gap between who he wanted to be and who life allowed him to become. Missed ambitions, financial instability, dreams slowly traded for practicality. Hawk never announces this change. It just leaks out through his posture, his jokes, trying a little too hard, his need to be seen as relevant. The scene that quietly destroys people is the car conversation with his son when Mason Sr. realizes his child is growing past him. Hawk's voice carries desperation masked as advice. He's not lecturing, he's reaching, trying to pass down meaning before time officially outruns him. And in that moment, you feel the panic underneath the warmth, the fear of becoming obsolete in the eyes of the people you love most. Psychologically, this taps into generativity anxiety, the fear that your life won't leave a meaningful imprint. It's the dread parents feel when they wonder if they taught enough, showed enough, mattered enough. Hawk plays a man who is deeply loving but painfully aware that love alone doesn't freeze time. His performance hurts because it's not about failure in a loud sense, it's about partial success, about being good but not great, present but not permanent. The scene hits mass audiences hard because it mirrors something most people are scared to admit, that one day, without warning, you'll realize your kids, your work, your world don't need you in the same way anymore, and there's no villain to blame, no big mistake to correct, just time doing what it does. Hawk lets that realization sit uncomfortably in the air, without music cues or dramatic framing, just life moving forward whether you're ready or not. That's why this performance lingers. Because Boyhood doesn't ask whether Mason Sr. was a good father. It asks a much more unsettling question. What happens when love is real, effort is genuine, and time still wins? Ethan Hawke makes that truth feel unbearably human. The last one is something even Ethan Hawke would probably thank himself for being a part of, a cult disguised as a classroom, a film that doesn't just inspire you but quietly breaks something open inside you. Dead Poets Society is often remembered as motivational, but that's not why it hurts. It hurts because it shows you what happens when young minds are briefly allowed to feel alive and then punished for it. Hawke's Todd Anderson is not the loud rebel, he's the anxious one. The kid who lives in the shadow of expectations he didn't choose, compared constantly to a brother who already did everything right. From the beginning, Todd carries the psychology of learned inhibition, the kind where you stop speaking not because you have nothing to say, but because you've learned that your voice doesn't matter. Hawke plays him hunched inward, eyes down, sentences swallowed halfway, like a boy trying to take up as little emotional space as possible. The poetry exercise scene is where something cracks. Todd is forced to speak, forced to create, forced to exist out loud. And what comes out isn't confidence, it's terror, mixed with beauty. Hawke doesn't perform talent here, he performs panic. His voice shakes, his face tightens, and suddenly you're watching a child realize in real time that there is something inside him worth hearing. That moment is euphoric. And that's what makes the later pain unbearable. Because this film isn't about seizing the day, it's about grief after awakening. The most devastating psychological layer of Dead Poets Society is that once you're shown who you could be, you can never unknow it. When Neil dies, the loss isn't just of a friend, it's the death of possibility. Hawke's Todd absorbs that loss like a wound that rewires him forever. The sadness here isn't loud, it's existential. The realization that the world will often crush the very parts of you that make life meaningful. And then comes the final scene. Todd standing on the desk, voice cracking. Not heroic, not polished, just brave enough to be honest once. This isn't rebellion, it's post-traumatic courage, the kind that comes only after you've seen what silence costs. Hawke plays it like someone who knows this moment will not fix anything, but still matters. Standing doesn't save Neil, it doesn't dismantle the system, it just proves that fear didn't win completely. That's why this performance is timeless. Because Dead Poets Society doesn't promise a happy ending, it offers something rarer and sadder. The idea that sometimes the most important thing a story can give you is the permission to feel deeply, even if the world punishes you for it. Ethan Hawke doesn't make Todd inspirational, he makes him human. And once you see yourself in that trembling voice saying, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," you never forget the cost of learning how to speak. And that's what makes Ethan Hawke so quietly devastating as an actor. He doesn't break you with spectacle, he sits with you. He lets the silence do the damage. Whether it's a man drowning under moral responsibility, a boy burning himself alive just to prove he deserves a future, or an adult realizing the life he chose might not be the one that chose him back, Hawke keeps returning to the same uncomfortable truth. The hardest battles are the ones we fight internally, politely, while the world assumes we're doing just fine. We could talk about many more of his performances, even the newer ones like The Black Phone 2, which everyone is rooting for as it heads toward its streaming release, but that's the mark of a rare actor. The list never really ends. If any of these scenes hit a little too close to home, that's not an accident, that's the point. Let me know in the comments which Ethan Hawke moment broke you first and which one still lives rent-free in your head.